Were from the you know from the tip, their aggressiveness, um, really as much as anything, that in every manifestation of the game knocked us back, and that's we have to be more focused on that. Every play has challenges in that regard, whether it's running, defensively. Um, you can point to anything. I could list them for you, but I think that, frankly, is everything starts and flows from there. And we're at a point in the year where we need to be ready to go tomorrow night. It's really what it comes down to. Establish that mindset. We've had that, uh, and this is what it looks like when we're not, especially during a certain stretch where it was, where we lost the game.
Not to point to anything in particular, but how much maybe does that 3 p.m. start kind of get guys out of their routines?
Yeah, this is one of those ones where you can probably point to a lot of things, but as much as anything, those are the things right now that you have to overcome to whatever extent that's the case. And even if you're feeling some of that at the beginning of the game, we have to respond. And over the course of the game, there were moments that you saw that response, but at that point, it's got to be something that's consistent throughout the game.
Coach, when you're a period where you are now as part of the season, you see a team do a game like that. Does it concern you at any point because we're so late in the season?
I think anytime that you don't play well or don't play, part of it for us is that aggressiveness defensively leads to baskets. It makes it harder for us to get out on the floor. It allows them to be more physical in the half court. So I think we understand that situation. It was, you really felt it tonight, obviously. We played that way against Dallas. We didn't win the game, but against a physical team with size. So we have to respond from that, and there's time you can have a, I think at this point in the year, it's not a flush it game. You got to take from it what you need to take from it to go forward and to be better. And there's got to be that urgency at this point. I think that is what you face in playoff situations. So that's something we need to understand. And if OG is as physical as he is, you've got to be able, you may not be able to impose your will on a certain level, but we have to have that. I'm using him as an example, but whoever it was getting into us, their aggressiveness in pick and roll, their aggressiveness on the glass, their aggressiveness defensively, and you have to understand that that's certain teams are going to do that more than others, but it's something we've got to be prepared for, and not just respond to, but initiate. Regardless of size or strength or anything like that, it's a mentality that we have to have.
Coach, you mentioned this briefly, but just despite that rough start, you guys are still down 7, heading into the second quarter.
Yeah.
It seems like they're making everything in that second quarter. You guys are not really hitting shots. How much of it is that Knicks defense that's kind of disturbing you guys, especially from the perimeter?
Yeah, I think there are some things. Again, I think that's the physicality of their defense. That's how they're built right now, and it impacted us. And as you said, we did respond at certain points. That response has to be more consistent across the board. And as I said, yes, as far as this at this point in the year, you want to have that kind of ingrained and habitual. But you see something like that, we got to recognize it, and we got to change it, and that impacts your execution as well.
Coach, with you downsized because of injuries and that sort of thing, what's the thought process with using Mo? I think you played like 5 minutes in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, well, you started the game, and there's a couple ways you can go about that. You can chase matchups and try to stay big. That's hard for us to do because at some point we have to play someone else because we have Mo and Dom and O. So we're not going to stay big throughout the course of the game unless we're playing all those 3 guys in a 3-man rotation. And then when we got down, part of when we've been good is when we made shots and hit threes, and you find yourself where we are at halftime, and we're down where we are. There's no easy answer for those questions. Shots go in, and that seems like the right thing. They don't go in. We weren't stopping anybody anyway. But again, those are decisions that present themselves in every game, and we've been playing 10 guys too. So however the minutes get distributed, it's been a little different from game to game. If you guys consistently play when we face double big teams, we've started big, and then if they downsize, we've done that. Or certain games we downsize, and then they play small too. So it's really a game to game thing.
Yeah, Quinn, when you don't have a practice or a shoot around before you go tomorrow, how do you address the things from tonight?
Yeah.
Seep into tomorrow?
You prepare. I think what we're, even in a short period of time, you still have an opportunity to walk through. But I think as much as anything, there's always some tactical things that, we got blitzed in pick and roll. I don't think we handled that as well as we can, or we have. But more than anything, it's just kind of setting our minds. And I don't think we need to shoot around to do that. That's just something we got to decide to do and focus on.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay. Mm-hmm.